got off to a hot start this year, winning 17 of their first 24 games. But since then, the Braves have struggled to retain their early season form. Tonight, a trip to D.C. may be just what Freddie Gonzalez's team needs, as they've dominated the Nationals over the past few seasons. It's the renewal of one of the best rivalries in baseball, live from the shadows of our nation's capital next. We've got a monumental series ahead in Washington this week. It's a 4-game affair between the Braves and the first-place Washington Nationals. All year long, Braves baseball is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors, the right stuff, the low price, every day. The Braves and Nats have really been struggling since mid-April, but Washington's played just a bit better. They have a slim lead in the divisional race, and the Braves go head-to-head with the Nats here at Nationals Park tonight. Hi again, friends, along with Braves pitcher Paul Byrd. I'm Chip Carey. Welcome to Nats Park, where it's a first-place showdown in the National League East. A check of the standings shows Atlanta is a game and a half behind Washington for the top spot in the division. Oh, by the way, the Marlins also a game and a half out, too. And so Atlanta, Paul, has a chance to go head-to-head with the team they're trying to catch in this divisional race. And quite frankly, the Braves are happy to see Washington. They've played these guys very, very tough over the past couple years.
Yeah, that's the good news. Braves fans, do not leave your wingman. There's a lot of time left. This is not the end of September. This is a streaky team. You knew that going in. Now they have a chance to capitalize.
Atlanta's won 5 of the first 6 games against the Nationals this year. But, Paul, look at what they've done since the start of play last season. That's our Home Depot tools from the dugout.
Well, that's more good news. They like playing the Nationals. They like playing in this park. Freddie Freeman's been hot. Chris Johnson doing the job. So those are good things you can find right now in a team that's struggling a little bit. So we'll see if this park, this situation, this opponent will help them turn it around.
The Braves have said they often play to the level of their opponent. The Nats are in first place. The Braves hope to change that in this big series in Washington. Gavin Floyd gets the ball for the Bravos. Jordan Zimmerman goes for Washington. We've got Game 1 from Nationals Park coming up next. Nationals Park tonight for the lid lifter between the Braves and the Nationals. And good news, the skies are clearing. It's turning out to be a lovely night for baseball. A gentle breeze blowing in from right field. And that's what greets the Braves here in Game 1. Freddie Gonzalez has a different look to his Toyota starting lineup. Evan Gattis is back in the cleanup spot for the Braves. As you see, his current 17-game hit streak is the longest active hitting streak in Major League Baseball. He's hit 8 homers during that stretch, and he's also homered once against Washington this year. Still no Justin Upton. He's got an inner ear problem, and so he started to swing the bat off the tee today. He's not quite ready to go. That means Ryan Domit gets the start in left. And Paulie's coming off a 3-hit game against the Phillies yesterday, something Atlanta hopes to see a lot of against a real tough right-hander for the Nationals.
He's very tough. Jordan Zimmerman, 95 miles an hour, and look at that walk-to-strikeout ratio, 15-7-1. He's been fantastic. 4 keys to the game are this. Jordan Zimmerman, with that electric fastball, has to keep the ball down. He is very, very strong, very good, but he still has to locate. He keeps the ball at the knees, and will his slider show up? He's been dominant the last 3 starts, especially. The slider was absent in May. We'll see if he's got it going tonight.
And he will greet Tommy La Stella, his first at bat against Washington this year. The Braves' second baseman in the leadoff spot for a second straight game, and he takes a called strike.
It's really hard to throw the ball 95 miles an hour and locate it as well as Jordan Zimmerman does. One of the reasons he's so successful.
LaRoche has it pop out of the pocket of his glove. He doesn't panic. Zimmerman to the bag. And we are underway without number 1.
Ball's hit well. Just simply knocks it down. As you said, doesn't panic. Throws off the back leg like little quarterback action right there. And LaRoche showing why he's one of the best defensive first basemen in the league.
That's a nice security blanket, knowing you have a guy like LaRoche defending for you at first.
Yeah, he's outstanding. He's up there in that JT Snow category. Just everything looks smooth, looks easy. That was a tough play, throwing off that back leg, sidearm, falling away. And he made it. Former teammate of mine with Atlanta. He didn't have that good-looking beard back then.
Thank goodness. He's in there somewhere, we said the last time we saw the Nats.
There you go. But can still hit like he always has.
And 2 quick strikes to B.J. Upton, who's riding a 5-game hitting streak. And that missed inside. Into the glove of Jose Lobaton, the Washington catcher.
Now he has him set up for that slider. He's worked him away. Fastball in the inside part of the plate. See if he uses it here.
He did. Painted the corner. First strikeout for Zimmerman. Upton's retired, 2 out.
And if BJ was guessing right there, I was guessing slider. Again, saw another fastball inside part of the plate. Fantastic location. Nothing you can do about that.
That's our PNC pitching performance pitch tracks. As Zimmerman with his 72nd strikeout in 85 innings this year. Now he's going to get after Freddie Freeman, the Braves' first baseman, at 276, 11 homers, and 36 knocked in. And he couldn't check his swing. It's a strike.
Notice how Zimmerman is using that fastball in the inside part of the plate right away.
I know Steven Strasburg gets all the publicity, and rightfully so, but there are a lot of people in baseball who think that the man on the mound for Washington may be their best starting pitcher. And he might have broken the bat of Freeman. Espinosa at second, fields and flips to first. And Jordan Zimmerman breezes through a 1-2-3 top half of the opening inning. Gavin Floyd looks for a capital effort tonight. He goes to the mound against the Nationals next. Turning out in force for game one of this series in Washington tonight. 3 up, 3 down in the top half of the inning. Here's how the Nats line up for their skipper, Matt Williams, his first season as a big league manager. It's presented by Toyota. Big note on Jordan Zimmermann. The Nationals are 8-2 in the last 10 home games in his starts against the National League East. That's because this is a power-packed offensive Washington lineup that's gotten a big lift with the return, Paul, of Ryan Zimmerman, who's playing left field tonight. First time we've seen him out there, and we'll see how he fares against Gavin Floyd.
And Gavin Floyd, I'm excited to see him throw again. He is a pitcher from Annapolis, Maryland, 45 minutes away from the park, pitching in front of the home crowd. Coming back from Tommy John, has a really nice ERA, stepped right into this club, and have done a great job. Forward keys to the game for Gavin. His curveball is his best off-speed pitch. It is vital that he throws that 4 strikes and establish both sides of the plate with that fastball.
And he's got Denard Span to lead things off, the Nationals center fielder. He backed out of the box just as Floyd was ready to make his first pitch.
Yeah, you can't do that pitch number 1.
Let's go, man.
Get in there.
And a strike to Denard Span.
As I was saying, Floyd from his hometown, 45 minutes away, also Camden Yards, and has done a nice job pitching in front of family. 3-1, 2.85 ERA and 6 starts.
Broken bat up the middle. Simmons got a friendly hop and gets Span to start the game for Floyd.
That's that 94-mile-an-hour sinker. That sinker is a tough pitch coming back from Tommy John. Sometimes you lay off that pitch for a year. He's just learning. You can see how it dove in the middle of the plate. Got a cracked bat on this one. Just went straight down. What's super impressive about that, Chip, is sometimes to get that kind of movement, you have to take a little off the ball. 3 or 4 miles an hour to really get that downward tilt. That was 94 miles an hour. That's tough to do.
Here's Anthony Rendon. He's the Nationals' third baseman now. And this kid can really hit. A 273 average, 10 homers, 38 knocked in. He's riding a real hot streak for the Nationals. 12 RBIs in the last 15 games played overall. When Zimmerman was still able to play third base, Rendon was sharing time at second with Danny Espinosa. That's all changed. Talking with the Nationals people, they say that Ryan Zimmerman has really taken to left field. He loves playing out there, and they don't think he's going to go back and be a full-time third baseman anytime soon.
Well, he's always struggled with the throws at third base. He's had to go to sidearm type motion, and he likes it out there in the outfield. He hits his cutoff man so far. We'll see if he can do that today. Hopefully there's a lot of times where we'll have to hit that cutoff man, and we'll see how he takes to it.
Floyd paints the outside corner. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
The Nats feel the key to their offense going is Span and Rendon, just getting on base, because with Worth and LaRoche, Zimmerman coming up, you have some hitters. So when that top part of the lineup goes, their offense goes.
Line toward right. That's headed for the seats foul. And it's out of play, 2-2. You saw a brief shot in the dugout of Matt Williams. He's the Washington manager. What a way to break into the big leagues. One, you inherit a terrific playoff potential ball club. But secondly, he's gone through just about every emotion you can go through as a skipper in the first couple of weeks of the year. As Domet in left will handle that drive by Rendon. I mean, Paul, the Nationals have had their ball club together. They're imagined starting 8 for a grand total of 1 game all year because of injury. Harper's been out. Zimmerman's been out.
Yes,
and it's amazing.
It really is. And as we see Matt Williams right there. Lee Kuntz is their trainer, a friend of mine that I broke in professional baseball with, and he has more than a full-time job this year with the Nats, and would have liked to have seen the Braves capitalize on that a little bit. They haven't done it. Now they're in for a dogfight. We'll see if they can respond.
Another big loss for them is Wilson Ramos. He's had a couple of stints on the DL. A hamate fracture and now a hamstring problem. But this guy's healthy, Jason Worth. Worth looking for his first hit on the homestand for the Nationals. They just wrapped up a series with the Astros and held on to win by a run yesterday.
I hated facing Jason Worth because he would take a bad swing and then somehow had the ability to take a great one right after it, make an adjustment. I don't know if he was luring me in or what. And has some of the best hair in the National League.
That's a matter of opinion there, pal. His 0-2 pitch is cut on and missed. Worth in a slump, has 2 hits in his last 22 at bats, and Gavin Floyd's looking sharp in a big series opener in Washington.
Ray Aldridge. The Braves had hoped to have their regular starting left fielder tonight, but Justin Upton a few hours ago went out, got a workout in the field, got some swings in, but was very honest in telling Freddie Gonzalez that he wasn't at 100%. So Freddie made the call, and Mr. Domek got the start in left field. Justin told me that he's never had a situation where he's been lightheaded before. Although this is being called an inner ear situation, it is not an inner ear infection, guys, and he hopes to get back in the lineup tomorrow as Evan Gattis takes that first pitch, Chip.
Thank you, Andre. Always good to have Justin in the lineup with his power potential. And guess what? If he does play tomorrow, welcome back. You got to go get Steven Strasburg.
Yeah, I don't think any of these national pitchers are going to give you a break on any day. So,
well, Gattis on a franchise record run, a hit in 17 consecutive games. No catcher in the history of the Braves franchise has had a streak that long. And what's even more impressive is the damage that Gattis is doing in those 17 games, Paul. 8 homers.
Yeah, I've been really impressed with him. He's never caught a full season, and so I was really wondering if he's going to be able to handle the punishment of blocking and having gear on night after night, game after game, if he was going to be able to hit as well as he has, and he's done a phenomenal job.
He has hit some memorable home runs against the Nationals. One that always sticks out in my mind is he turned around a 96-mile-an-hour fastball that was chest high from Steven Strasburg and rifled it into the Atlanta bullpen.
I agree, and I'm a little shocked at Zimmerman's approach here. He's coming out throwing curveballs. to Evan Gattis. Instead of that good fastball at the knees, even that right there is a little 87-mile-an-hour cutter. So it tells me that the Nats believe the scouting report or way to get Gattis out is with breaking balls, not the heater.
Yeah, would you throw him a fastball?
Good point.
Let's see what they want on a full count pitch. It's fastball in. And Gattis was all over it, but Rendon smothered that at third, and that's out number one. Look how quick he is turning on this fastball.
His hands are electric. He gets that bat through the zone. Not a lot of wasted motion, right to it. Explosive. Usually, if you know you can get a guy out with breaking balls, you wait till guys are on base. And you establish the fastball in away early. And then you wait till that situation calls for it. Okay, now I'm going to go to the breaking ball with guys on base. It's time. They wasted no time throwing him breaking balls right off the start.
First chance for Zimmerman in left. Long run, and he can't get there. So Jason Hayward dumps a single into shallow left, and that's the first hit of the ball game. Hayward on base now with a hit or a walk in 35 of his last 38 games. And there's a start in the Braves' second.
That's nice. We'll see if the Braves can capitalize on that. Nothing wrong with a little good fortune going your way.
Hayward's second hit of the year against Washington comes with one out. Now Chris Johnson bats. The Braves' third baseman has a 4-game hitting streak.
There you go. Braves are due for a little good luck, a little mojo going their way, aren't they?
Johnson smacks one foul to the right, and that's into the seats. Strike one. The frustrating thing about this run for the Braves is when they've pitched, they haven't hit. When they've hit, they haven't pitched. When they've hit and pitched, they haven't defended. It's just been a real frustrating couple of weeks.
I agree with you. You know, the good news is you've seen this before. You've seen this streaky team that when the smoke cleared last year, they were 30 games over 500. So you're kind of waiting for that to happen again. For the most part, the same players. So they've done it before. Let's see if they can get hot, and there's no better time than tonight.
Good lead at first. Hayward, another half step. Not going. And Chris swung and missed. 0-2.
Haven't really seen Zimmerman go to that slider that we're wondering if it's going to show up. Been so electric the last 3 games. Has him 0-2. We'll see if he goes with that fastball in, which Johnson can work up the middle so well, or if he goes to the slider.
That just missed the inside corner. Tim Welke's got the plate, and the count now 1-2 strikes.
And he picked fastball in. Just missed.
Braves saw Zimmerman very early in the season. He was the losing pitcher on April the 4th. 5 innings, 4 hits, a run. He struck out 9 in that game and gave up a homer. And he might be pitching with a little natitude, if you will, tonight. Because if you look at the line for his last start, you're amazed he got beat.
He continues to pound the fastball in, which I like. It tells me that he wants to establish that fastball, and later on in the game, you'll expect him to throw more fastballs away with the slider away. The rule is establish in early and don't get beat late with your fastball on a pitch in late in the game.
So from 0-2 to 2-2 and foul back. Zimmerman's last start was a gem. He locked up with Lance Lynn of the St. Louis Cardinals. Zimmerman threw 8 innings, allowed 3 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, and threw 76 pitches but lost. That's tough to take.
It is on a team that can hit.
That's in the dirt. At 2-2, that series against the Cardinals was a real frustrating one for Washington. They played so well out on the West Coast. They went to San Francisco, won the first 3 games of their series with the Giants, Then Tim Hudson beat them in the final game. Then Washington went to St. Louis and got swept. And then Washington's gotten a little healthier at home against Houston. Runner goes on a 3-2 and it's grounded toward third. Rendon will have only one play and he makes it at first. Hayward at second now with 2 out.
I think the game comes down to the little things so many times. That was a great scoop at first by LaRoche that you just kind of expect now. But, you know, bad throw. If he doesn't make that play, then, you know, the Braves are off to the races here. Just nice and smooth. Makes it look easy.
You're almost surprised when he doesn't catch it. So here's Doman. 3 hits yesterday against the Phillies. And 3 RBIs, one of them on a solo home run. Time call. Hayward's getting a huge lead out at second base. Worth far and away has the best arm amongst the Washington outfielders. Span has a center fielder's arm. And you know the throwing troubles of Ryan Zimmerman. Doman fouled that off his foot. And he's got an even count, a ball and a strike.
It was that high fastball, wanted it away, but it was kind of a mistake down the middle. I think Doman wishes he would have had that one back. But, you know, 95 is tough to hit. I think it just beat him a little bit.
I think he's going down and in again after he fouled one off the instep.
He may.
No, but skies one towards center. Span's going to come in a couple of steps and he'll make the play, and that retires the side.
Great call, Chip. Fastball up and in.
Braves get the game's first hit, but leave Jason Hayward stranded at second in the second.
Atlanta Braves baseball is presented by AT&T Uverse, Delta Airlines, and Ford.
The duel is on in Washington. No score as we head to the second inning. Paul Bird pinch hitting for my partner Joe Simpson, watching the game tonight back in Atlanta, coming back from Achilles tendon surgery. So Joe, all of us are wishing you well, especially our stage manager Tracy Roberts, who sends along her wishes for a speedy recovery. Here are your cold hard facts brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light. Lowest ERA in innings 1 through 5. Gavin Floyd, second to Johnny Cueto of the Reds. Like that stat against this hot-hitting Washington club.
We'll take it. Yeah, I like that stat. And coming back from Tommy John, it takes you a while to build up endurance. You know, you've been out for a year, you have a surgically repaired elbow, and usually your stamina is the last thing to come.
Gavin's first win after Tommy John surgery came in Colorado against the Rockies, and I'm sure you can relate to this. That first win after surgery, you were probably grinning from ear to ear just like Gavin Floyd was.
Exactly. It's so hard to sit on the bench and not be able to participate and watch your teammates win and lose and just not be a part of that.
LaRoche took high and tight, and he's got a 1-2 count.
Excellent pitch right there. Cutter on the inside part of the plate, up and in, now opens up away. He has a choice to go back inside with another cutter or work that good curveball on the outside part of the plate.
Adams spent some time on the disabled list with a right quad strain. In the 18 games since coming back on May 25th, 3 homers, 14 runs batted in. He has been a notorious slow starter. That again was not the case this year for the Nationals. Roche has been a huge cog in this Washington offense with all the injuries they've suffered through.
The only guy hitting above 300 and has been fantastic for them. And keep going back to that beard. Adam, you're a little older now. You should have some gray in that beard. I think he's a little just for men. What's going on here?
You better buy it by the 55-gallon drum.
Do they have the red-haired edition for just for men?
I don't know.
To check that out. Looks good.
2-2 pitch. Missed the corner. Floyd wanted it. Full count now.
He's not been able to get him to chase on that good breaking ball that Floyd has. He's worked the inside part of the plate, the 2-2 fastball away, and just missed off that outside corner.
LaRoche is one of 3 active players in the big leagues to hit 25 or more homers for 4 different teams: the Braves, Pirates, Diamondbacks, and Nationals. Adrian Beltre and Alfonso Soriano are the other 2. And he earned a hard-earned base on balls to start the second inning. That's a heck of an at-bat.
That was a great at-bat. Floyd battled and made his pitches, and LaRoche just waited him out.
So Gavin goes to the stretch for the first time. And here is Ryan Zimmerman.
It's one of the hardest things I had to learn coming to the big leagues was that, you know, big league hitters, they don't necessarily hit those great pitches, but they foul them off. You got to repeat it. They foul it off. Got to repeat it again. So LaRoche showing you why he's been up here for so long.
It's clear when you look at some inside baseball numbers why Zimmerman is so vitally important to this Nationals ball club. He missed 46 games due to injury. They averaged 3.5 runs a game. First 1-0 pitch. Zimmerman has played 24 games. They're averaging 5.3 runs a game with him in the lineup.
And that's the rule. It's if you hit, they got to find a place for you. And now, you know, if you're a shortstop or second baseman, you still need to hit. The defensive guys, you know, those days are over.
Double play ball out to Simmons. Estella the turn, and that'll get Zimmerman. 6-4-3 and out. Zimmerman bounces into his second double play.
Best friend. Nice and easy. Estella with a good throw. That feels so good, by the way, after you walk that leadoff hitter, which you do not want to do, and then you get a great hitter to ground into a double play.
Good time for that sinker to work from Gavin Floyd. Here's Desmond, the Washington shortstop. A .238 average, but 13 homers and 44 knocked in.
So the opening pitch, he throws a curveball that misses by 3 or 4 feet, and you get a swing. You think that's a first pitch swing?
He'll take him any way he can get him. And that one split the plate. 0-2 for Ian Desmond.
I believe, along with working both sides of the plate with the fastball, the key for Floyd is to do what he just did. Be able to throw a 2-strike curveball that bounces and be able to throw that one.
And how about that sequence? Desmond only saw 1 strike, and he swung at 2 bad balls and is out. Second strikeout for Gavin Floyd, who's faced the minimum through 2, and he'll bat second when we come back.
Baseball is presented by the Georgia Lottery and Toyota.
Scoreless game. We have completed 2 innings here in Washington. And before the Braves come up against Jordan Zimmermann, we'll invite you to take part in the Braves Steal of the Season sale. It ends tomorrow. Buy tickets for any remaining Braves home games before Friday and save up to 50% off when you buy at Braves.com/steal. Take advantage of this great deal now. Next time the Braves will be home is the final day of June. We'll wrap up this long road trip through Washington, Houston, and Philadelphia and start a 3-game series with the Mets. Andrelton Simmons gets things started in the Braves' 3rd. He's hitting .253.
I don't mind that .253 because I believe he is the best shortstop in the world right now defensively.
That one line foul out of play. It's quickly 0-2.
One of my favorite players to watch. Anything can happen.
And Andrelton Simmons' defensive work, as you mentioned, Paul, is our Academy Sports and Outdoors leaderboard.
And he's not at the top right there. I think because he gets to so many balls that other people don't get to, and takes chances, and some of the plays that he has pulled off, he is in his first full season, was many people's career highlight films. He made that many incredible plays, and I hope that the Braves fans appreciate what they get to see every night.
A little number back to the mound, and Zimmerman's going to make the play. And there's out number 1.
Zimmermann has already given up 1 hit, so he won't do what Clayton Kershaw did last night. Did you see that?
Oh, yeah. Wasn't that something?
I was trying to go to bed. And I found myself 2 feet away from the TV for the last couple outs like a kid watching a cartoon. I got so excited, and great for him. What a great young man. He's fantastic for the game. And what changed, I don't know if you noticed, but his wife, Ellen, in the yellow shirt, got as much TV time as he did in the last couple innings. And Vin Scully was talking, and no one would sit next to Ellen. So the game's changed. Now you cannot talk to the pitcher who has a no-hitter or their wife.
You're not telling me you're that superstitious, right?
I think it's bad luck to be superstitious. So
nice.
You got it. So I try not to be.
I saw a stat today about Kershaw's no-hitter, but it wasn't about Clayton Kershaw. It's about the incomparable man who called that no-hit ball game, legendary Dodger broadcaster Vin Scully. It was his 19th no-hitter that he has called as a broadcaster. The stat, though, will follow as we see the montage of Kershaw's 15 strikeout performance against Colorado. And how fitting. A strikeout, arms raised, and Kershaw and the Dodgers celebrate at Chavez Ravine.
And there's Ellen. No walks, 15 strikeouts, no hitter. Rojas made a great play at third base. And again, 15 strikeouts. Don Mattingly got a little emotional talking about how proud he was of that young pitcher. And I thought it was so poignant about what he said. Hey, 2 Cy Youngs and a big contract have not changed him.
Yes.
He works his tail off and is a great teammate.
And an incredible humanitarian, donates millions of dollars to charity in Africa. And he's a great kid. And what a pleasure it must be for Vin Scully to watch that guy pitch every 5th day. The 19th no-hitter in Vin Scully's career. Were it not for a Handy Ramirez error, it would have been the 4th perfect game described by Vin Scully. And the amazing stat, in the history of Major League Baseball, Vin Scully has broadcast 7% of all the no-hitters and 13% of all the perfect games.
Wow. He knows his stuff, but there's just something about his voice alone that just feels good when you hear it.
Tommy LaStella skies one out to left, and Zimmerman's got it. And that will retire the side. No-hit bid for Jordan Zimmerman. Gavin Floyd has one alive as he's through 2, and still no score in Washington. In Washington, where we have no score. New for this year, the Braves will host a kids baseball clinic for kids of all abilities at Turner Field Monday, June 23rd from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. You can learn the game from Braves legends like Marquise Grissom, Brian Jordan, and Charlie Lebrand. To reserve a spot today, go to braves.com/kidsclinic. That'll be a lot of fun. As a first pitch swing and a drive by Espinosa into right field for the first hit of the game for the Nationals. Second time they put the leadoff man on in tonight's game. That'll bring up Jose Lobaton, the catcher.
Pitch just catches the middle part of the plate. Not a horrible pitch because it's at the knees. Espinosa able to work it into that hole. A nice dive by Estella. I like that Estella. He's gritty. He's dirty quick.
Yeah, some folks have compared him to Mark Lemke.
Oh, I love when they're playing. Yeah, and even guys like Lockhart.
Lobaton drives the first pitch in the air toward right. Hayward near the line, still coming. Wynn pushing that toward the infield. And Jason gets there after a long run for the first out. So how about the Nats here, Paul? They've made an adjustment. They're going after the first pitch.
They are trying to jump on Gavin Floyd early. A lot of times if a guy has a great breaking pitch like a Gavin Floyd curveball and you're a hitter, you don't want to stick around for the breaker. If he's going to throw strikes, you certainly don't want to be behind in the count, so you pick a pitch, and if you see it, you go after it.
Zimmerman's a pitcher, but don't let that fool you. This guy could swing the bat. He's a .261 hitter for the year.
Every now and then you'll see an athlete come up to the plate.
Not you two, huh? You've been hanging around with Glavine too long. And there's the bunt, and it's a good one. One play, it's to first. And no further advance by Espinosa. He'll stop at second after the sacrifice by Jordan Zimmerman.
Zimmerman doing the job there. Great guys, great angle with the camera right there, guys. Notice how he did not drop the bat to the ball. He went down with his legs, kept the same bat angle. Great technique.
Zimmerman out of that baseball factory of Wisconsin, Stevens Point.
Expect a breaking ball here with the guy on second and first base open.
And it missed. Outside ball one to Denard Span. 15 RBIs for Span. He's 0 for 1 tonight, grounded out to Anderson Simmons. As you said, Span and Rendon, the heart and soul of this Nationals lineup. If they get on, they feel the engine. If they don't, they have an easier time.
And he started him out with a sinker, which broke the bat in the first inning with Denard Span.
Sharply hit and foul past first. That sounded like it cracked the bat. And it did. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Some good ears up here, Chip, all the way up here.
Oh, this ballpark, you know, sound rises. And the higher it goes, the louder it gets. Our joke when we come to Washington is if you look closely past the Capitol, you can see Mount Rushmore out there.
I agree. View of the whole city up here.
There we are.
Got a little nervous looking over the edge earlier. Here we are, top of the Eiffel Tower.
1 ball, 1 strike. And that's in the dirt. And stopped by Gaddis. 2 balls and a strike.
Span showed good discipline on that curveball. I think when you get a guy on second base and 2-out situation, you know which hitters get excited and you need to throw breaking balls. You need to pitch them backwards in certain situations.
Another stop by Gaddis on a ball in the dirt.
Nice block by Gaddis right there. That killed a worm. That was 6 or 7 feet in front of the catcher. That's a tough ball to block. You're just all reactionary on this.
Again, that's got to be a nice security blanket. You need to get a strike without throwing one, but you can throw it in the dirt and have Evan knock it down.
If your catcher can't do that, then you have no confidence throwing a breaking ball in that situation. You know you can't bounce one, and consequently you can end up hanging the pitch because you're trying to protect your catcher.
High fly ball right center field, but that's going to be playable for Hayward, and Gavin Floyd takes care of Span and the Nationals in the third. BJ Upton, Freddie Freeman, and Evan Gaddis are coming up. We're in the fourth already. Still no score in Washington. Chip Carey with you. Andre Aldridge along as well in Washington. We still have no score. Tuesday, July 15th, baseball's best gather in Minnesota for the 2014 All-Star Game. It'll be Derek Jeter's last appearance as an American League All-Star, so you won't want to miss tuning in for what should be an emotional and unforgettable night. Special coverage starts at 4:30 on Fox Sports 1, followed by the game at 7:30 on Big Fox. All right, second time through the order now against Jordan Zimmermann. 39 pitches for the Nationals right-hander. And that one grounded towards second. Espinosa's been vacuuming everything up at second base. Good play to take away a hit for Upton. 1 out.
Nice play after getting BJ Upton on a fastball in the first inning. His first 2 pitches away. And Espinosa with a little razzle-dazzle, little pirouette, makes a nice throw.
Defense at times has been a problem for this Washington ball club. They've committed 52 errors this season, 4 by Espinosa. And now a shot up the middle off the bat of Freddie Freeman. He's got a 1-out single.
That surprises me. Jordan Zimmermann with the first pitch curveball. Freddie apparently guessed right, looking for that curveball. Drives the ball up the middle. Didn't fool him at all. Not a bad pitch. That down and in zone, down and in to lefty's kind of that nitro zone. But on a first pitch, you're not looking breaking ball unless you pick something up with the glove, or you're just going up there and saying, you know, this guy likes to throw me first pitch breakers, and I'm going to look for it. I think Chipper Jones is one of the best at that, predicting when that first pitch breaking ball was coming and making it go.
Now Zimmermann has to face Gaddis with a man aboard for the first time. Evan turned on an inside fastball and hit a rope to third.
He's made an adjustment in his stance. His front leg, lead leg towards the pitcher, gets stiff right before the pitch comes. He thinks it helps him stay back. You can see how it's starting to do that now. And I don't think it's any coincidence that he changed his stance and went on that tear, that hit streak. And you can see that front leg kind of does a little toe tap, and he just stiffens it up a little bit, keeps him back, and he's tried to be a little more hunched over the plate. And how about the no batting gloves? I'm sorry, Chip.
Yeah, he's a throwback in that regard, isn't he? No pine tar, no batting gloves. Just rub some dirt on it and get after it.
There you go. He's old school.
The 1-2 pitch. Rifled into left field, a hit for Gaddis. He's turned on a couple of mid-90s fastballs in this game.
Make it 18 hits.
So he's our Georgia Lottery hitting the jackpot. Look at the work Evan Gaddis has turned in offensively this year. I'd say he's ahead of last year's pace. That hit streak now indeed moves up to 18 games, the longest active streak in the game.
His hands are explosive, even on the slow-mo. You can see how fast those work compared to the rest of his body.
Now a fly ball into center field. Span's going to charge, and he can't get there. And all hands are safe.
They're all even and out for you. Jason Hayward with another well-placed single in the outfield. Couldn't have thrown it out there any better.
What a difference this time of year makes. Jason Hayward came into this series 1 for 23 against Washington pitching. He's 2 for 2 tonight, and now the Braves have a golden chance to score the first runs of the game. Bases loaded, 1 out for Chris Johnson.
Good things happen when you just simply put the ball in play. Jason Hayward, one of those guys that can pull the ball out 15, 20 rows deep, and sometimes you can get in trouble, forget to hit the ball the other way because it feels so good. Not that I know what it's like to hit the ball 20 rows deep. Although in batting practice, I did take one pretty far. You've been impressed. Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. As you can tell, I still remember it.
Might recall early in the season, Chris Johnson was this team's cleanup hitter because of his ability to make consistent contact with men on base and men in scoring position.
He too has changed his swing just a little bit over the last couple of weeks, starting to hit the ball more up the middle into the right side, which was the Chris Johnson we saw last year.
No balls and a strike. And that straightened him up inside for an even count.
Zimmerman started him off with a slider on that outside part of the plate. I've seen a lot more curveballs from Zimmerman today. It tells me that coming out of the pen, he didn't have a great slider, or you would have thrown it by now. So that first pitch was a slider. We'll see if he throws any more or goes back to the curveball.
Outside, 2 balls and a strike.
There's that slider where he just missed. Over the last 3 games, he's been phenomenal, as we talked about, because that slider has shown up. He really struggled with it all of May, and it looks like he's struggled with it tonight and just hasn't thrown it very much.
Freeman, Gaddis, and Hayward, the Braves runners. 1 man down in the 4th. A great play by Espinosa started the inning. Otherwise, the Braves would already have a run. And that's high.
It was an excellent at bat by Chris Johnson. You've got to know your role, and I think this team at times has struggled with identity. What am I exactly supposed to do in what position in the lineup? Chris Johnson's moved around a little bit. You don't need a grand slam here. You need a base hit or a walk. That's what Chris Johnson does so well, is get that base hit, work the ball up the middle or the opposite side of the field.
Bouncing ball up the middle. Espinosa can't get it. 1 run scores. Here comes Gaddis around third. He's going to score. And Chris Johnson puts the Braves in front 2-0 with a single to center field.
Zimmerman went back to that slider on 3-1. I did not expect Chris Johnson to swing at that breaking ball, but he was all over it. As you can see right there on the outside part of the plate. Great extension and just keeping his head on the baseball, driving it up the middle. You see that head stay still. Who cares if it's a 10-hopper? That ball was hit well.
So Chris worked the count to his favor and didn't miss his pitch. 4 consecutive Atlanta hits. The Braves have scored the first 2 runs tonight, and that's Steve McCatty, the Washington pitching coach, out to give Zimmerman a mental and physical breather here. Chris Johnson swinging a hot bat. That's good news for Atlanta, right, Andre?
Absolutely right. Chip had a long talk with him before this contest and talking about how the Braves have been struggling to score runs. He said, look, the approach does have to change. We get runners on third base tonight, less than 2 outs. We've got to get them home. We can't try to go for the home run. We can't try to be the hero. We've got to try to make contact. He was going to accept the base on balls if he could have got it, but getting the bat on the ball there, as you guys pointed out.
The good news about that is he didn't just talk about it. He went up to the plate and did it. Great execution by Chris Johnson.
He's up to 19 RBIs now, and he's at first for Ryan Dolbeck. Dolbeck flied out to center. Oh, so important to get the first runs against this Washington club. Now Dolbeck skies one toward right. Worth is going to camp out, and he'll give way to Denard Span. The National center fielder's there for the play, and that's the second out. Talking to some of the Washington people before the game, Paul, they are really head-scratching over how Washington plays against the Braves. Some of the things that they have seen head-to-head against Atlanta the last 2 years are things they don't see Washington do against other ball clubs. And so you have to wonder, are the Braves in the Nationals' heads?
I would have to say yes. Sometimes when you struggle against a certain team, whether you're a pitcher or just a team in general, when you see that jersey on the other side of the field, the mojo's not there. Then you try to change and do too much or make a different pitch or come in with a different strategy, and things only get even worse.
So here's Simmons, 2 on, 2 out. Pitcher due next.
Here's where Simmons, I think, we talked about this team's identity. Yes, Simmons can hit home runs. As you see, he's hit 5. But this is where we need a 2-out base hit. And that approach has to change. Instead of trying to lift, and you see that front shoulder start to fly open a little bit, and you can tell the hitter's over swinging. You just need, again, that base hit up the middle.
Braves would love to see Simmons get on here and clear the pitcher in the 4th. Generous strike. Called over the outside corner. 1 ball, 1 strike to count.
Zimmerman going back to that fastball. I also think that you can look for the ball away and adjust to the ball in. But if you're looking for the ball in to pull and pitcher throws on the outside corner, you can't make that adjustment and hit that ball away.
He took a shot at right field and fouled it off. It's 1-2. 2 runs, 5 hits for the Braves, no runs, 1 hit for Washington. Zimmerman's had to work hard. Remember, he threw 76 pitches over 8 innings in his last start and took the loss to the Cardinals. He's about to throw his 57th pitch, and he's not through the 4th inning today. Two.
So that was a great opportunity, 1-2, for Zimmerman to throw a breaking ball, a curveball, or a slider. Try to get Simmons a chase, just make a good pitch, but he's gotten hurt with the slider this inning. Freeman's hit the curveball, and so he keeps going back to that fastball.
And as you said, his slider really has been his best outpitch the last 3 games. But he hasn't thrown many strikes with it tonight.
See if he goes to the breaking ball here, comes back with a fastball.
Zimmerman must be a speed reader. Those signs are flashing quickly from Lobatone. And Simmons out of play again.
There was that slider on the outside corner that I'm starting to see a little bit more of. And his catcher gave him the signal, hey, speed it up, which we don't mind.
Watch how quickly he flips the signs down here. 2 balls, 2 strikes. And Simmons was late. Zimmerman strikes out the Braves shortstop to end the 4th inning. But the Braves cash in 4 straight singles. Chris Johnson singles to center. That brought home Freeman and Gaddis. And the Braves in a big series have struck first in Washington here in Game 1.
Presented by Jeep and AT&T, mobilizing your world.
Good start for the Braves, 2-0 here in the 4th inning. And fans, you can follow every Braves game with MLB.com at bat on your favorite mobile phone or tablet. Get live look-ins, instant replay, score, stats, audio, free MLB.TV game of the day, and more. Download on the App Store or visit Braves.com today. So, Gavin Floyd has been given 2 runs. Here in the Nationals' 4th, Rendon, Worth, and LaRoche are coming up.
Tough assignment here. Score 2 runs, coming up, face the heart of the order. As a pitcher, you can't always get everybody out, but you can concentrate, recognize the situation, and throw strikes.
You want to do that with this guy, Rendon, a very talented hitter, in front of Worth, LaRoche, and Zimmerman. There's a big component missing, however, for this Nationals offensive attack. As Rendon swings and misses, didn't get a breaking ball. He is struck out. Floyd's 3rd of the game.
I love how Gaddis tapped on the ground saying it's 0-2. I want that curveball down. Gavin Floyd responded with a great 0-2 pitch. And Johnny Bench style, Gaddis just scoops it up. Johnny Bench making it famous with that little backhanded scoop. Made it look so easy, everybody wanted to do it. But blocking a baseball behind the plate is a very hard thing to do.
Out of play by Worth. The missing component for Washington is, of course, Bryce Harper.
Harper was on the field today and was taking batting practice, early batting practice in Washington, and from all reports was hitting baseballs as deep as you can hit them here. Worth missed badly. There are some who say, hey, let's go and activate this guy now. But he might need 6, 7, 8 minor league rehab games to get his legs under him. And then Harper will be ready for action before the break, it will appear. That's the good news for Washington. Bad news, though, Paul, is they now have 4 starting outfielders for 3 spots.
Well, and they're winning. They've started to turn around a little bit, and sometimes you can break team chemistry and throw somebody out there. So Matty Williams, as you see there, has some tough decisions to make.
No balls, 2 strikes. And Worth didn't get a disappearing slider. Worth now 2 hits in his last 23 at bats. The Braves are seeing him at the right time. Back-to-back punch outs, 2 out.
This gets back to what we talked about before the game. That curveball is devastating from Gavin Floyd. When he's able to throw it for a strike and then break it right behind the plate like he does right here for that strikeout pitch, he's going to be tough to beat if he can continue to make those pitches.
High pop fly by LaRoche toward left. Doman near the line in fair territory, has it. Very easy inning for Floyd. 3 outs on 8 pitches. A shutdown frame sends this one to the 5th. With the Braves in control by 2. At Nationals Park, a Chris Johnson RBI single in the 4th inning, the 4th of 4 consecutive hits, brought home Freeman and Evan Gattis. Floyd will get things started himself and is down a quick strike.
There's that pitcher's courtesy fastball right down the middle. Now you get the slider. 95 down the middle is not too much of a courtesy, though, at least for a pitcher.
And that takes care of Gavin Floyd. That's 4 strikeouts for Zimmerman. 1 down in the Atlanta 5th. All right, Paul, put your thinking cap on. It's trivia time. Since 2012, Jordan Zimmerman has recorded the 2nd lowest ERA against or among current National League right-handed pitchers. is a minimum of 450 innings. Who's first? Who has the lowest ERA among National League right-handed pitchers since 2012? That's our AT&T reverse trivia question. High pop fly by Tommy La Stella. That's out to shallow left field. Zimmerman's under it. He's got it. Tommy is 0 for his last 15 now, and 0 for 3 tonight.
Notice how Zimmerman threw 2 sliders to Gavin Floyd, which he really didn't have to do. Sometimes as a pitcher, if you're struggling to find a pitch, a great time to find that pitch is against a pitcher.
Lined and caught. B.J. Upton robbed again. He hit that ball right on the screws, but he's hitting it at the wrong man. That's twice Espinosa's taken away a hit try. And Zimmerman has a 5-pitch inning. We're rolling along. The Braves up by 2.
Is presented by Georgia Power, The Home Depot, and Zaxby's Indescribably Good.
Gavitude is beating Natitude so far.
I like it.
Gavin Floyd leads 2-0 after 4.5 innings of play. He has struck out 4 Nationals. He's allowed only 1 hit so far. And he's got Zimmerman, Desmond, and Espinosa coming up. Fans, now it's time for you to tweet your photo using hashtag SouthFanPhoto for a chance to have it shown in an upcoming broadcast. That's brought to you by our friends at AT&T. Gavin had an 8-pitch 4th inning, and he went right through the 2, 3, 4 spots on Matt Williams' Washington lineup. Now Zimmerman hits. He bounced into a 6-4-3 double play back in the 2nd. Nationals have to find a place for Zimmerman to play. He is signed through 2019. He is an immensely popular player here in town. He's a tremendously talented player here in town. At the moment, his throwing problems are the main issue. The arthritic shoulder, which has required surgery. He battled through last season and the season before with cortisone shots. This year broke a finger in Atlanta sliding back into a base as La Stella ranges behind the bag and makes the long throw in time to get Zimmerman for the first out.
Excellent play by La Stella right there, planting that back foot, giving a good solid throw to first base. I think he's showing you early that he's got a little bit of range. Not the fastest guy on the diamond, but that does not always translate to how quick you can get to a ball with lateral quickness.
And Zimmerman out by a quarter step. 7 up, 7 down for Floyd now as Desmond hits. He struck out his first time.
There's that curveball for a strike. You know, he has the ability to bounce it, and he has the ability to lay it in there for a strike. If he starts doing that, which he's doing so far, like I say, that's really tough to deal with.
And to finish the report on Zimmerman, the shoulder issue affects his throwing, but not swinging the bat. You see how efficient Floyd has been. 11 of his last 12 pitches have been for strikes. He's thrown just 46 in the game. That breaking ball is exploding, Paul.
It is fantastic. Did you see how Gaddis right there waited till the hitter stepped into the box a little bit? Not going to give anything away too early. You see that front shoulder start to leak from Ian Desmond.
Swing and a miss. That ball was in the left-hand batter's box. They are swinging at the invisible baseball right now.
Gavin Floyd so excited he thought it was 3 outs. And now he's trying not to smile or laugh. He's going to enjoy the moment. Yes, there's 2.
There are 2.
Sometimes when you're going so well, you don't need to get 3 outs, only 2.
Now, I'm guessing that's going to be a fine in Kangaroo Court, right?
It will, and he's pitching, like I said earlier, in front of his home crowd, so all of his family and friends will remind him of that one.
So 2 outs, base is empty for Espinoza. And he swings and misses. Boy, Gaddis and Floyd are on the same wavelength.
They really are. And
no
that's
shakeoffs.
That's a first pitch changeup. So now he's showing you can throw the fastball, he can throw the curveball, he can throw a changeup for a first pitch strike. Once you start doing that, everybody in that Nationals dugout sees that, and they have to stop guessing.
Little tapper back to the mound. Floyd fields and fires, and there's your 3rd out, Gavin Floyd. 9 up, 9 down. It's a 2-0 Atlanta game. The middle of the Braves attack goes to work in the top of the 6th inning. There's the very top of here in Washington, D.C., where the Braves lead the Nationals by a 2-0 score. Saturday, it's a full night of MLB action, starting with Baseball Night in America on Fox. The Braves will take on the Nationals here. Then the Rangers face Mike Trout and the Angels over on Fox Sports 1. Our MLB doubleheader begins Saturday at 7 Eastern on Fox and continues at 10 Eastern on Fox Sports 1. Broken bat, fly ball to center. Freeman's retired on the first pitch.
Freeman jumped on that first pitch again. This time it was a fastball and sawed him off.
So that takes care of Freddie Freeman, and Evan Gattis hits. Has extended his batting streak. That's our SunTrust shining moment.
Look at how fast those hands are, even in slow motion.
And I gave our fans some wrong information earlier about Gattis and his home run total. 16 home runs in 207 plate appearances, not 68, so my apologies for that. But Evan just continuing to make a strong case for National League All-Star consideration, as well as the home run derby. I'd love to see him swing the bat in that extravagance.
I agree with you. A lot of respect right there with the 1-0 curveball. Hey, when you watch the home run contest, you want to see somebody hit one 500 feet.
Right.
When you see Michael Jordan go up for a dunk, you want to see something crazy. And I think this is just the guy to provide it.
He had him off stride, but look how far Gattis hits that ball out toward left center field. Span tracks it down for out number 2.
Nice curveball on the outside corner by Zimmerman.
Zimmerman doing what he does, piling up a few strikeouts, and he doesn't walk anybody. In fact, Zimmerman has 4 walks in his last 35 2/3 innings. That covered 4.5 starts now, including tonight's game. You talk about efficiency. In the last 4 starts, Zimmerman has averaged 93 pitches a game with 30 innings.
This guy's the real deal. The Nationals' winningest all-time pitcher with 48 wins. And how about this? Has not walked 2 straight batters in 71 starts. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
So if he walks someone tonight, the next guy needs to be swinging. See how I figured that out?
I tell you what, man, you are top of the game. 1-1 pitch is inside for Hayward. 2 balls and a strike. Jason's got a good night going. He's 2 for 2. Both hit singles. Batting 5th in tonight's game. We've talked a lot about, Paul, how important this series and this road trip is going to be for the Braves in 2014. I think this is going to be an important series for Hayward. The Braves trying to find out exactly what kind of an offensive player Hayward is. Talked about that during the game yesterday. As there is the base on balls. Hayward at first for 2 outs. This series important because the Braves and Marlins are tied for second, a game and a half behind Washington in the East. Atlanta's won 5 of the first 6 games head-to-head, and 4 games in D.C. this weekend.
Freddie Gonzalez coached me when I was a Brave. I'm a big fan of. I think he's great at dealing with people. A lot of times when you have to send young players to the bullpen or even down like Alex Wood, you have to be able to deal with people. You have to make sure they do not lose confidence that they're an important part of the team. And he will quickly tell you that Bobby Cox was one of his mentors and taught him how to do that well.
Up the middle, a line drive caught by Desmond at short, and Chris Johnson hit it right on the button, but that drive goes unrewarded. Braves strand Jason Hayward in the 6th, and the Braves maintain their 2-run lead.
Baseball is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. The right stuff, the low price every day. Gavin Floyd goes to work in the 6th inning. He has sat down the last 9 Nats in order. Both Braves runs came in the 4th inning. A Chris Johnson single with the bases loaded. This is Jose Lobaton. He fouls one away for a swinging strike. Lobaton's getting extended playing time this year because of the bad fortune of Wilson Ramos, the #1 catcher with the Nationals. He had a hamate bone problem after the first game of the season for the Nationals this year. Fortunately, that cost him a bunch of time at the start of the year. Then got hurt on the last road trip for the Nats with a bad hamstring. He just has not been able to stay healthy. 25 games for them in 2012, just 78 games last year. Ground ball bounces out to Simmons. Easy play to get the catcher for route #1. Here's a look at how Ramos hurt himself for the Nats against the Giants. Looked pretty harmless until he popped up on the slide.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been able to tell either. But if you go down, that's the way you want to go down. Double in the left field gap, right?
That's why some folks look very cautiously at this Eastern Division race. They don't really know what kind of team Washington has because they haven't had their team together much. But I think you can say the same thing about the Braves. They've been able to patch together a starting rotation without Beachy, without Medlin.
I would agree. That was the biggest surprise for me of the season, is in April how well they pitched.
Lloyd's fallen behind his mound opponent. 2 balls and a strike.
That 261 average Jordan Zimmerman has maybe staring him a little bit. Sometimes if you have a pitcher that you know can hit, you try to do a little too much. There you go, back on track. Here comes the curve.
Did he go? Yes, he did. Zimmerman couldn't check his swing, and Floyd has another strikeout.
To show you how good Gavin Floyd's curveball is tonight, it's not even starting out on the plate. It's starting out off the plate. People are still going for it. I mean, that starts out, it's a ball, finishes in the dirt, and people cannot lay off it. I'm not talking about Zimmerman. I'm talking about some of their better hitters tonight.
What a gift that is as a pitcher to know you can get strikes without throwing them.
There you go.
Look at the economy with which Floyd has pitched tonight. He's set down 11 in a row. And that's going to end with Span's shot toward the right center field gap. Upton will play that off the base of the scoreboard. Span will stop at second with a 2-out double. His 21st 2-base hit of the year, and that brings the potential tying run to the plate.
Up a little bit in the zone. This is that sinker. Just stayed flat. Really didn't have any downward action to it. Span does a nice job of barreling it.
So Span finally ends the offensive drought for the Nationals. That's only their 2nd hit of the game. And here's Rendon. Rendon's been an RBI machine, as we told you. 12 RBIs in the last 15 games for the Nats.
As a pitcher, this is that big situation where you can't relax. You're cruising. You've got 2 outs. Everything seems easy. You're making all your pitches. The next thing you know, if you relax here, the game can be 2-2. You have to recognize this situation and make your pitches.
There's the breaking ball. Rendon took it. 6th overall pick in the draft in 2011. Look at that stop by Gaddis. Rendon ended up with the Nationals, but it's always tempting to think about how different history might have been written. He was a big-time baseball star at Lamar High School in Houston. The Braves selected this young man in the 26th round of the 2008 draft before he went to Rice. He didn't sign. Atlanta's loss was Rice and now the Nationals gain. A ball, one strike. Driven toward right. Hayward gives ground. Shy of the warning track. He's going to catch it. And that takes care of Rendon and the Nats. We head to the 7th. Still 2-zip Atlanta. Buy your tickets for any remaining Braves home games before Friday and save up to 50% off when you buy at Braves.com/steal. We invite you to take advantage of this great deal now. Speaking of great, Gavin Floyd is pitching great tonight.
He's been outstanding. I love watching a great pitcher's duel, which is what we have here tonight. Think along with each pitcher.
Floyd has set down 12 of the last 13 Nationals hitters. He's scattered 2 hits. Zimmerman had one rough spell in this game. That was the 4th. 4 consecutive one-out singles plated the game's only runs. And now Ryan Domit pops one up to the left side. That's where Desmond and Rendon will settle under. And it's the Nationals' third baseman Rendon to make the play for out number 1. So Domit's retired. 1 away. We'll keep an eye on the scoreboard for you, especially that Miami game. The Mets are down in South Florida. Zach Wheeler pitching for New York. Andrew Heaney is pitching for Miami. Heaney is the #1 pitching prospect for the Marlins, and he's making his big league debut tonight. Zach Wheeler is leading him 1-0. The Mets do not score many runs, but one's been enough for them so far in tonight's game.
There we go. As if the Marlins need another tremendous pitching prospect, right?
Yeah, they need somebody to help their rotation. Losing Jose Fernandez shook things up quite a bit down in Miami, but they've held it together. They're tied with the Braves, a game and a half behind Washington tonight. 1 ball, 1 strike for Andrelton Simmons. He is 0 for 2. That's tipped into and out of the glove of Lobaton. It's a ball and 2 strikes.
You can see Simmons hitting the bat on his back. He's frustrated right there. That was a mistake by Zimmerman. Fastball over the middle part of the plate. And when you face a frontline pitcher like Zimmerman, you don't always get too many good pitches to hit. So when you don't capitalize on that one down the middle, you get a little frustrated. Both these pitchers tonight have very good curveballs and sliders. I thought Kershaw's masterpiece last night. Everybody wants to talk about his curveball, which is the best in the league. But he had a great slider last night. 8 or 9 of his strikeouts on the slider. He finished the game with a nasty slider, so he had a really nice combination working.
We were talking before the game with Roger McDowell and John Smoltz, who's also here working the game for the MLB Network. Not the goal of a hitter during the course of the game. As Simmons hits the ball the other way, that is a good sign. A 1-out single for Simmons. Hitters go to the plate trying to eliminate pitches as well as hitting them. They've been able to eliminate, I would think, the slider tonight from Zimmerman because it hasn't been a very effective pitch for him.
It hasn't. Here he's trying to throw an 0-1 right there, and you see that big circle instead of a small dot. And Simmons does not miss it.
That's Andrelton Simmons at his best.
I agree with you 100%. Know yourself, and even though you can hit home runs, know when to go for one and know when to go for a hit the other way and get something started. Great job by Andrelton. Another thing too, when you have a good slider and a good curveball and you can throw them, you can work off combinations. What I mean by that is if you throw a slider, it looks like a fastball. It's not. You come off throw a curveball after that, it can look like you hung your slider, and with the depth of it, you can get a hitter to chase. And if you go the other way, you throw a curveball first, which is slower and more recognizable, and then you follow that with a slider. Almost all the time, that slider will look like a fastball. And so when you work in combinations and throw them back to back, they're very effective.
0-2 for Floyd, who tries to bunt again, and he'll be struck out. He tried to sacrifice Simmons to second base, could not do so. And we go back now to the top of the order. Let's also revisit our AT&T Uverse trivia question. Jordan Zimmerman has the second lowest ERA among right-handed pitchers in National League play since 2012. Who's first?
I'm clueless. I'll go with Wainwright.
That's a good guess. I'll say Julio Teheran.
Does he have the innings?
It's Zach Greinke of the Dodgers at 299. That's a good question.
It's a great question. I didn't see it coming. You got me. I'm supposed to know that.
Welcome to the club, pal. Dodgers have closed to within 4 games of the Giants, who've lost 5 in a row. Dodgers have won 3 straight.
Expect to throw over here pretty soon.
And that's inside, a ball and a strike. A ground out and 2 flyouts for La Stella tonight. As I mentioned, his first dry spell as a big league hitter. He has no hits in his last 15 at bats.
Nicknamed the singles machine. That doesn't happen very often, but this is a great time for Simmons to steal second base if he gets thrown out. And there's the throw over. Zimmerman knows this with 2 outs. If he gets thrown out, you come up next inning, La Stella leads off. If he's successful, now you have a guy in scoring position where just a single will score him versus at first base where you need a double. May see another one here. Oh, that was it. Zimmerman has shown great control today, but he's starting to leave a few balls over the middle of the plate. This one's supposed to be on the corner, right down the middle.
Now 2-2. Now the runner goes, and LaStella fouls one at the plate. And Edlerton will head back to first with 2 outs.
That was a good swing right there. That's that foul off where Zimmerman makes his pitch. LaStella didn't try to do too much, just foul the ball off. If it was a ball, could have let it go and given Simmons a chance to make it to second.
Line drive left field. That's in for a hit for Tommy. So Simmons wasn't running that time. He'll have to stop at second base. And LaStella's 0 for 15 streak is by the boards. That's the 7th Braves hit of the ball game.
I was very impressed with that swing right there. After being backed up with the fastball up and in, and then the cutter in, he gets a fastball on the outside part of the plate that Zimmerman executes. LaStella, after making contact with the ball in, can keep his head on the baseball and drive a very nice pitch the other way for a single. Thus, the singles machine.
And that's the way you describe the Braves offense tonight. All 7 hits are singles.
We'll take it.
4 in a row in the 4th inning. Played at the first 2 runs of the game. That's Jerry Blevins. He's up and throwing in the bullpen. If Upton reaches, you might see him come on to face Freddie Freeman. And now Steve McCaddy, the Nationals pitching coach, makes his way to the mound to buy some more time for the Washington bullpen. You do not want to get into this Washington bullpen. The game has changed in so many ways, Paul. You used to say, okay, get the starter out of there and let's get into the bullpen.
Yes.
Not the case with Washington. Their collective ERA, the lowest in Major League Baseball at 2.54 earned runs.
Yeah, they're fantastic. And Tyler Clippard has had everybody else's number except the Braves. So it's, again, follows suit with what we talked about, where certain people on the Nationals had had trouble with the Braves. And we'll see if they do go to their pen, who they choose to go with.
Well, that depends on what B.J. Upton does here. He has struck out, he's grounded out, and he's lined out to second. Another run or 2 would be nice. And that's off the plate. Ball 1.
That's that slider that's been inconsistent. That was a very nice pitch right there. With 2 outs and a runner in scoring position. Executes it on the outside part of the plate. And B.J. Upton lays off.
Didn't get the fastball. It's an even count. Simmons and LaStella have opposite field hits. There are 2 out in the inning.
He tries to work the ball in against B.J. I knew coming over that B.J. Upton wasn't going to hit 350, but he has always been a good fastball hitter. Always, and can hit the ball away. He once even hit one off my chest, so I can testify that he can hit the ball well.
Really?
And the fastball, yes. And that's probably the most surprising thing for me, is that he has struggled with fastballs.
He hit you in the chest with a batted ball.
Yes, and it was, I probably threw it 87, 88, and it came back 110 and hit me square off the chest. And I turned into the Incredible Hulk and got angry and picked it up and threw him out. Walked around the mound like I was tough, but I really wanted to fall over and start crying because that sucker hurt. Took my shirt off in the locker room, and I had some nice bright seams across my chest.
Popped up foul over the Nationals dugout. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Who are you pitching for when that happened?
For Cleveland. For Cleveland. He was playing for Tampa. And it was a great pitch down on the outside part of the plate. And he destroyed it. And it's one of those where you occasionally you wake up in the middle of the night saying, no! And I tried to get my glove in front of it. Thought I caught it and just had no chance. On the replay, I was extremely late.
Well, advantage for the Braves runners here with a full count, 2 outs. La Stella and Simmons will be running with this pitch. Atlanta 2, Washington nothing. Here comes. Strike 3 called in her half, and Upton didn't think so. He's caught looking for a second time in the game. He fires the bat away in frustration, and the Braves strand a pair. They've left 6, and this game heads to the 7th inning stretch. Zimmerman got a big strikeout. The heart of his order is coming up in a 2-run game. And pink and shades of cerulean blue as well in Washington, where the Braves lead 2-0 at the 7th inning stretch. What a night, Paul, for Gavin Floyd, trying to chase down his 2nd win tonight as a Brave.
He's been fantastic. He's thrown a great sinker. His curveball has been tremendous. He's thrown it for strikes. He's bounced it, made the pitches when he had to. Guys on base. He's made great pitches, and there's that devastating curve. He's done everything well except know how many outs there were. He walked off the mound after 2 outs, thinking it was 3.
Breaking ball, Worth waited for it, hammered that one a mile down the left field line. And that's a long, loud strike for Jason Worth. Jordan Schaefer admired that one as it sailed foul. He checks in for Ryan Domit here in the home 7th.
That's a good move, a trade for defense. They take Schaefer's wheels with a 2-0 lead late in the game.
Gavin Floyd walking around the mound, took a long look into the Braves dugout, and
that's not good.
Certified athletic trainer Jeff Porter's on his way out.
I don't want to give Braves fans any bad feelings here, but what you're looking for is anything but a pop in the elbow coming back from Tommy John when you re-injure it like Medlin did. You feel like you hit your elbow on a door and you have a numbing sensation that goes down your forearm. So you're hoping that he tells you, if you're Jeff Porter, anything but that.
Gavin Floyd takes himself out of this ball game. Not a good sign on what has been a spectacular night so far. ball game, but he left after Jason Worth hit a mile-long foul ball down the left field line.
And you can see right there, he has some nasty swelling on the end of that elbow. That's not good. You know, I'm not a doctor, but I have had Tommy John. You know, you're hoping that you won't find this out until a few days from now, but you're hoping that's a scar tissue, some sort of tear of scar tissue versus the ligament. 90% of people that come back from Tommy John, at some point they tear scar tissue. Most do it within that first year. He's past that 1 year mark, but there's always a chance for that to happen. Obviously the Braves are going to be cautious with Gavin Floyd, and I don't like the location of that swelling, Chip.
So for those of us who have not had Tommy John surgery, when you say, okay, you tear scar tissue, that sounds pretty nasty. Does it feel like the injury that you drew the scar tissue for in the first place?
Yes, and there's a very tense moment where you have to wait until you get an MRI to see if you've torn your UCL or ulnar collateral ligament, or whether or not it's just scar tissue. So it's until you find that out, it's a tough moment as a pitcher.
Yeah, we obviously don't know the exact nature of the injury for Gavin Floyd. We'll wait for word from the Braves media relations department, but you could tell as soon as he threw that pitch ball, he walked off the mound, flexed his elbow like he's doing a biceps curl, took a long look into the Braves dugout as he walked around the mound, and that drew the immediate attention of the Braves training staff.
Yeah, anytime you have immediate swelling, that means something is wrong. It's just not normal. You don't ever get that type of quick swelling after any sort of a start. Another option is it could be a bone chip that just simply frayed off a little bit, but that immediate quick swelling is not a good sign. And like I say, you're really hoping for some torn scar tissue.
So don't want to speculate. We just know that Floyd left with an apparent injury to his arm. Beyond that, we don't know. What we do know is Anthony Bavaro will take over with Jason Worth in the batter's box. The count is 0-1. But Worth becomes Bavaro's first batter faced. Worth tonight is 0 for 2 with 2 swinging strikeouts. The Nationals had very little success against Gavin Floyd's breaking balls tonight. Let's see what Anthony has in store for us in a 2-run game. And a quick strike.
This is an opportunity for Bavaro to pick his teammate up after a great start. The mood around the field, everybody is frustrated. The Braves, the last thing they need is another injury to one of their pitchers. But it's an opportunity for Bavaro to throw strikes, to do a good job, to pick up where Gavin Floyd left off, and as much as you can, try to make everybody feel a little better.
Anthony should be pretty well rested. He last pitched on June 16th, the first game against the Phillies. And he's got a nice run working. He's not given up a run in his last 3 outings. That covers 3 1/3 innings with 4 strikeouts. He earned the win against the Angels on June 15th. And Worth, opposite field, down the right field line, will reach to start the inning. Hayward will dig it out in the corner. Took him a little while, but Worth settles for a stand-up double. So here in the 7th, Washington will bring the potential tying run to the plate in the form of Adam LaRoche with nobody out in the inning.
It's that fastball he'd like to have down, but it's just too high. Worth gets good extension on it and rifles it down the right field line. Hayward with a nice job of playing the corner and getting the ball in.
$14 doubles for Worth. Now LaRoche bats. He's walked and he's flied out to left. Sharply hit to short. Simmons to his right. Plenty of arm to get LaRoche. He tried to split the gap between third and short with Simmons playing up the middle, but Andrelton, quick as a cat, cut off the ball for the first out.
I agree. The defense shifted for LaRoche to pull the ball, so some good fortune there as LaRoche tries to go the other way. Simmons adjusts and makes a nice play. You know, Simmons is used to making that backhand play in the hole, so sometimes when you're adjusted with the defense and you're making a backhand play right behind second, it's a little tough. But you'd never know it because he's so good.
A strike to Ryan Zimmerman.
What I like about Vivaro is he can pitch 1 inning, 2 innings. He can come in for 1 hitter because he can strike a guy out, so he's very versatile. So it's nice to have a guy like that in the pen with great stuff and an arm that can throw for more than 1 inning, get strikeouts. Usually doesn't walk a lot of guys, so he's a very important piece in that Atlanta Braves bullpen.
It's Braves bullpen that made a change today. Pedro Beato was placed on the disabled list, and Juan Jaime was called up from AAA Gwinnett. He's here and with the club tonight. Jaime's got an arm that can throw a fastball 100 miles an hour.
You can see that roster move. A lot of moves for the Braves this year. Bottom line, got to find a way to get it done.
Another shot to short. That's 2 in a row. Simmons loads up and gets Zimmerman. So the Nationals got a leadoff double. They've not been able to advance Worth yet. 2 outs for the shortstop, Ian Desmond. All the manager can do is watch and wonder and hope.
And if Vivaro gets this last out, this is where when the Braves get into the dugout, you need a leader on that team that makes sure everybody gets up. This is an important game, important series. I don't want to minimize what happened to Gavin Floyd, but you cannot dwell on that.
Boy, how big would it be if Vivaro could keep Washington off the scoreboard here in the 7th. There are 3, 4, 5 hitters of the men in the box, and Desmond, a deadly hitter against right-handed pitching. But all night long, Paul, sliders and breaking balls have totally mesmerized this Nationals offense.
I agree with you. When you see a high homer guy like an Ian Desmond that is hitting below 240, you know that he either struggles with the fastball away, which 70% of strikes are on the outside part of the plate, or he cannot hit a breaking ball. And it looks tonight like he's really struggling with the curve and slider.
1 ball, 1 strike for Desmond, who's whiffed twice.
Again, swinging at that breaking ball, having trouble with it. A great chance for Vivaro to pick up his teammate, like I said. And I'm thinking of the Tim Hudson injury where he was stepped on at first base and the mood was down. But you know what? The team rallied. It brought them together a little bit. And guys stepped up. So this is an opportunity for guys in the pen and whoever in that rotation to step up, no matter how long that is.
The 1-2 pitch for Desmond. Ground ball toward third and foul. A foul ball. Desmond still alive behind in the count.
I like how Chris Johnson throws this baseball, the umpire being behind him. If he doesn't throw it, that tells the umpire that it's foul. So he's going to throw it just in case and see if he can get a call.
Gavin Floyd left with injury in this inning. Worth doubled off Vivaro. Back-to-back ground outs to the shortstop has Washington down to its final 7th inning chance. A 1-2 count for Ian Desmond with the Braves up 2. Another chance for Simmons. A one-hopper. And what a job by Anthony Vivaro. He picks up Gavin Floyd, and the Braves maintain their 2-run lead, and the heart of the Atlanta order's coming up, looking for some late insurance in Washington. to set the tone in a series. Gavin Floyd and Anthony Favaro are doing that to the Nationals in Game 1. We hope this trend continues in Game 2. As the Braves and Nats meet again here tomorrow night, here are your Chevron probable starters, Paul.
Mike Minor starting to pitch a little bit better. Important that he establishes that fastball in. Great changeup. And Strasburg, who's got that great ERA, got a few more losses than you'd expect, but this series is huge. Not just in the standings, but you have great starting pitching going against each other, and every game will be a blast to watch.
That's down and away to Freddie Freeman as the Nationals are in their bullpen with left-hander Jerry Blevins.
From the front, it looked like he went. Seeing the side angle. It's one of those where the hitter thinks he didn't go, and the pitcher says absolutely he did.
1 ball, 2 strikes to Freeman. Zimmerman pitched very well again, but victimized by no run support, just like his last start against the Cardinals. He gave up 1 run in that game and lost. He's given up 2 runs tonight on 7 hits in 7 innings and is on the short end of a 2-run game.
You can see the numbers by Blevins. Got a little bit too many walks with 10 walks in 24 innings. And that's what makes him tough. You see that 75-mile-an-hour curveball. He has kind of starter stuff, Chip. He's got a 4-seamer, a 2-seamer. He's going to be 89 to 91. There's that curveball around 72 to 74. He also throws a slider and a changeup. Mixes all of his pitches well, which is, tells me he's a starter, but you don't have room in that lineup with the Nationals, so he's got to pitch out of the pen.
He missed with a live fastball outside. Blevins was an Oakland A. Nationals got him for outfielder Billy Burns in December of 2012. Blevins played with Craig Stamen at Dayton. Full count pitch. And that one's hammered toward right center field. That's going to get down past Span and up against the fence. Freeman wins the lefty-lefty battle with Blevins, and that's a huge run standing out at second base to start the Braves' 8th.
Freddie Freeman can flat out hit. I don't understand this, Chip, but he hits lefties this year even better than righties. And that's that fastball down and into a lefty in that nitro zone. Freeman gets the bat head to the ball. Not a lot of movement. Great hand-eye. Goes down and gets it. And hits that nice double in the gap.
I've been bragging about how good Washington's bullpen has been this year, and it has been. But they have given up runs in each of the last 4 games that they have pitched. In fact, against the Cardinals and Astros, their bullpens allowed 7 earned runs in their last 11 1/3 innings. And an opportunity here for Gaddis to do some major damage. And he didn't get a pitch outside for a strike.
That's the one area that Evan Gaddis can improve on, and I'm getting picky here. Sometimes when there's a guy in the scoring position with Gaddis, he gets a little excited and chases, as you just saw it right there. That wasn't that pitch started out of the zone and finished out of the zone. Tough pitch for him to be swinging on.
Another base hit for Gaddis. This one is straightaway left. Zimmerman came up, and his first throw was way off target. But he's going to hustle the ball in and hope that the Nationals defense can bail him out. So back-to-back hits for Atlanta has runners at first and third for Jason Hayward.
And do not make a mistake, especially with the fastball to Evan Gaddis right now. He is squaring it up. He is locked in and been fantastic. That's that fastball on the inside part of the plate again.
With 1 out, Doug DeCenzo, I'm guessing, sends Freddie Freeman, even with Zimmerman charging it left. He does not throw well. But with nobody out, no need to run into a first out at the plate. First and third for Hayward. And he has a good cut. Jason's had a good night again tonight. 2 hits and a walk.
And you'll see that infield is playing medium depth. So instead of them being in, they can't afford to give up another run. So they're halfway in the middle of that infield, meaning they think they can still make a play home. You can see the guys are right here instead of being on the inside part of the inner grass to cut that run out at home.
Jason took low for an even count.
Jason Hayward with 2 thrown singles in the outfield today. Couldn't have placed them any better. Doing a good job of putting the ball in play in a 6th inning walk.
Freeman's double tonight, the first extra base hit for the Braves. They have 9 hits in total. The pitch is hit in the air toward left. Zimmerman will charge. He's going to gather it in. There's the catch. And Freeman does not try to advance. A shallow fly ball to left. The Braves don't test the arm of Zimmerman, who got the ball into Rendon quickly. 1 out.
That's tough right there, where you really needed to get that run in. It's not easy to hit. Jason Hayward knows that. He's frustrated he didn't get that run in. But we'll see if Chris Johnson can pick his teammate up right here and answer.
I'm surprised the Braves didn't send Freeman there. Even though it's a shallow fly ball, don't you think you have to make him make 3 plays, the catch, the throw, and then the play at the plate?
Yeah, I agree with you. That one could have gone either way. You would like to test that arm of Ryan Zimmerman.
And the importance there is now with runners first and third, the double play is in order, and Chris Johnson is the Atlanta batter. He's 1 for 3. His 2-run scoring single, the only offense in the game tonight. That was back in the 4th.
Usually when you see a high average guy like Chris Johnson, who chased the National League average last year, you're going to see a guy that's very fast and maybe doesn't strike out a lot.
Back up the middle. That's off the pitcher, and it bounces into left field, and a run is in. We told you earlier tonight, when the Nationals play the Braves, weird things seem to happen in Atlanta's favor. How about that play? Chris Johnson plays pinball with Jerry Blevins, and Atlanta gets a 3rd run.
Ouch. Watch the side of your left knee. We'll see if Blevins can continue. That hit him square on the outside part of that knee. Went a totally opposite direction, and he's trying to limp to get over to 3rd. Chris Johnson does such a great job of hitting that ball up the middle, recognizing the situation and just barreling it. As I was saying before that swing, usually when you see a high average guy, they're really fast, they don't strike out a lot. Well, CJ has his fair share of strikeouts, and he's not fast. So for him to hit like he did last year, it tells you just how impressive he is with the bat and able to get hits.
Washington's bullpen goes to work as Blevins slowly makes his way to the mound. He'll fire a couple of warm-up tosses and see if he'll be able to continue. That ball, as you said, Paul, hit him awfully hard. And the Braves have 3 hits so far in the 8th inning, a 3 RBI night for Chris Johnson. And we'll see if Blevins can pitch without discomfort.
And I actually don't like that he's up there throwing. As a former pitcher, when you throw with a leg, knee, foot injury, it can cause you to alter your delivery. And the next thing you know, you have arm pain. He did turn it in a little bit to cushion some of the blow, but that ball was struck well as he hobbles over to 3rd, and looks like he's going to stay in the game.
So this is the 5th straight game that the Washington bullpen has surrendered at least 1 run. And the 6th in their last 7 games. So Atlanta adds to the lead. Jordan Schaefer gets a chance to hit. Remember, he checked in defensively for Ryan Doumit back in the 7th. 3 runs on 10 Atlanta hits. And Blevins a quick strike.
Schaefer in the past has struggled with the lefty-lefty matchups. We'll see if he can change that and answer right here with the big one-out hit and a man in scoring position.
Good breaking ball. Aaron Barrett continues to loosen in the bullpen. Simmons and Favaro scheduled next in the Braves' 8th. 3 hits, a run in.
Expect to see another breaking ball here with the lefty-lefty matchup and an 0-2 count.
It was, and Schaefer fought it off.
Schaefer, nice job of protecting the plate right there.
Another 0-2 pitch for Jordan. That's outside. A ball and 2 strikes. Broken bat. Blevins will fire to second. Out there, no chance to get Schaefer. And Gaddis to third. Jordan's at first. There's the second out, and Simmons will be the hitter. Let's see if Blevins will be allowed to face him. And it looks like the answer is going to be no. So Blevins comes on. He gives up a run on 3 hits. He'll leave 2 runners on base. Aaron Barrett will get the summons from Matt Williams. He'll face Andrelton Simmons with the Braves in front by a 3-run count in Game 1 here at Nationals Park. Eighth inning. That's the view of the Pentagon. Just down the road a piece here from Nationals Park in Washington, D.C. Lovely night for a ball game in our nation's capital. As we promised you earlier, we have our AT&T fan photo of the game. Tweet your photo to hashtag SouthFanPhoto for a chance to be shown in an upcoming game broadcast. That's brought to you by AT&T. Haven't seen many tomahawks tonight, but boy, we've sure seen a lot of Braves fans, and they're enjoying things to this point. The Braves have gotten into the heads of the Nats again. They lead by 3 here in the top of the 8th inning. University of Mississippi alumnus Aaron Barrett checks in.
Nice fastball at 94 to 95 miles an hour, and an excellent slider, which he'll throw in the mid to upper 80s. and throws both of those pitches about equally well in about half the time.
Runner at first goes. The pitch way high and inside. And no chance at all to get Jordan Schaefer, who continues his good work on the base paths. Schaefer in scoring position now.
I feel like Barrett didn't quite know the situation there. Could have thrown over or been a little quicker to home. You have to know Schaefer can fly, and they're going to try and steal him early.
He's 8 for 8 in steals now. And a 1-0 count for Simmons. Now, if this were earlier in the game, you'd say, okay, with 2 outs, go ahead and walk Simmons and get after the pitcher. However, if Simmons reaches, the Nationals won't see a Braves pitcher. Looks like Justin Upton has grabbed a bat, and he would hit next.
It's a pretty good pinch hitter, Chip.
Yeah. Low, ball 3.
Barrett starts off with 3 fastballs. It looks a little erratic, nothing too close. This is your typical reliever, power guy with only 2 pitches, unlike Blevins, who had 4 or 5 and mixed everything around.
So 4 straight out of the zone tells you that he pitched at Ole Miss. Bases are loaded, and Upton indeed is going to come on and bat.
His motion confuses me a little bit. It almost looks like a balk when I first saw it. Once your hands come set, you can't start and stop them again unless you do that every time. So he is, in my opinion, balking because he does it consistently over and over. They will give you credit for that and say that's just your mechanics. That's just your motion.
So Justin Upton out with an inner ear problem into the game as a pinch hitter in the 8th. A chance to do serious damage. And Barrett can't throw a strike. He's missed with 5 in a row.
Missed with 4 fastballs. Justin Upton obviously can hit a fastball, so they start with that slider. And as you said, not even close.
Only the 2nd time this year Justin Upton has pinch hit. And Steve McCaddy out for another visit. He's been a busy man. He had to go out and talk to Zimmerman in the 4th. He had to go out and check on Blevins after he was hit with a batted ball here in the 8th. And now, with Barrett in trouble and Upton in the box, he visits after a 5th straight pitch out of the strike zone.
Is this what you were talking about when you said weird things happen?
It's one of them. 4 straight Braves hits in the 4th. And a little pinball wizardry by Chris Johnson to play the 3rd Atlanta run. And there's a strike inside corner. How has Justin Upton fared against the Nationals this year? He came in as the Braves' leading hitter against them. In 6 games, Upton has 11 hits and 21 at-bats, 2 homers and 5 RBIs. And he's smart enough to know who's in trouble. It's not him, it's the man on the mound. He can't throw strikes. Upton can wait him out.
Yeah, any way you can get that RBI and help your team out. A walk gives you that RBI, helps your team with another run.
Out towards 2nd, and Espinosa, a short hop, makes the play, and that retires the side. The Braves pick up an insurance run. They do that on 3 hits. We go to the bottom of the 8th inning. Now a 3-0 Atlanta game.
And the Braves are up 3-0. We take you back to the video of the tough injury we had here on Gavin Floyd. Again, bottom of the 7th. First pitch to Jason Worth as he sends this long fly ball to left. No bump on the right elbow, as you see right there. After the pitch is completed, we're going to continue the video, and you'll see the bump appear. Now, officially, we get the word from the Braves. Posterior swelling on the right elbow, which is what you're looking at. He's been taken in for x-rays, and the Nationals doctors are looking at him. That's all we know as of right now, but some tough visuals to see there, Paul Bird, of our tonight's starting pitcher who was putting in a stellar performance.
Yes, I think we've even had some requests on Twitter to stop showing that because it can make you sick a little bit, but it is what it is, and you know, it's tough to see as a pitcher, and you're just hoping for the best.
And we'll find out more, and as soon as we find out, we'll pass it along to all of you in Braves country. Danny Espinosa leads off for the Nats. Jordan Walden, as you see, is on for the 8th inning. He's got the 7th, 8th, and 9th hitters scheduled for Matt Williams' club. Walden had a tough time pitching in Colorado. And looked pretty good on the homestand. 3 innings, 3 hits, 3 strikeouts. Just got Danny Espinosa to pop out to Freddie Freeman easily for his first out in the 8th.
Espinosa trying to get something going right there. And Walden overpowered him with that 96-mile-an-hour fastball. And it's not just the velocity that Jordan Walden brings to the table. It's the little stutter step with that lead leg. Kind of reminds me of Rob Nin a little bit. One of the great closers for the Marlins. So when you see 96, 97, 98, and you have some deception like that stutter step, it's just hard to catch up to.
Jose Lobaton swings and misses. He's down a strike.
And as you said, struggled in Colorado. That's Colorado, so I'm going to throw that out of there. And Atlanta happy to get Jordan Walden back after a stint on the DL.
What makes him so valuable is his ability to get out lefties and righties with equal ease. Ground ball right side. La Stella to his left from the outfield grass gets Lobaton. The switch hitting catcher retired. 2 out.
That's a great point, Chip. And the Braves need guys, not just Avalon, that can get out lefties. So the reason he's able to get out left is he's got a great split finger that goes straight down. If you're a righty and you want to be successful against lefties, you have to be able to throw to balls that go both ways. So cutters on the inside part of the plate, or something like a changeup or two-seamer that goes away from the hitter.
Here's Nate McLouth. McLouth's career really was reborn down the road in Baltimore with the Orioles. He's got a chance to play here in Washington, and last night a sacrifice fly gave him a 6-5 lead against Houston that they didn't lose. Last 13 games, McLouth has 8 hits and 27 at bats. That's a .296 average.
There's that good fastball, and misses his location there, but just overmatches him with velocity and deception. Walden's a guy that's not going to come in and dot every corner up. He's coming right at you, kind of a freight train, and he's going to get you out with stuff.
Did he go? No swing for Nate McLouth.
Tough pitch to lay off right there. Ball down and in. It looks so good to a lefty. And I'll say he held up.
McLouth, a real mystery. The Braves got him from the Pirates. They've requiring a Gold Glove caliber center fielder, all-star guy. It just didn't work out with the Braves. But he's found a home here in the Beltway, and he belts this ball toward left. Schaefer broke back. Now he gallops in, and he's going to put the squeeze on that. Jordan Walden, the freight train, rolling merrily along. 3 out, 3 down for the Nats in their half of the 8th. We go to the 9th with the Braves up by 3. Bid to go to 6-1 this year, head-to-head with the Nationals. They can also trim Washington's division lead to just a half game. A little more insurance is always welcome, leading 3-0 in the ninth as Craig Stammen comes on to face the top of the Atlanta order in inning number 9. Tommy La Stella will greet him first. Tommy is 1 for 4 in the game. He snapped an 0 for 15 slide with a 7th inning single.
Stammen with a little funky delivery, going 92 to 94 with that fastball. How about that strikeout to walk ratio? Only 5 walks to 27 strikeouts. Does a nice job.
Stammen, a guy, Paul, that they tried as a starter with moderate success, but once they put him in the bullpen, his major league career has taken off.
Really has, and some guys are just better at getting players out once. They throw a little harder out of the pen. Normally they're stuff guys, and that seems to be the case for Stammen.
And I would assume that his experience as a starting pitcher means he can be perceived to be stretched out. He's pitched more innings in relief since the start of the 2012 season than anybody else in the big leagues.
There you go. So he's got a rubber arm, which certainly helps when you're in the pen.
La Stella, a bouncing ball slowly out towards second. Tricky hop, but Espinosa got there. And Tommy's retired to start inning number 9.
Nice play by Espinosa. There he is, Craig Kimbrell.
Talked to Craig before the game. I said, time for you to get busy. He said, you bet. Too many days off. Craig last pitched on the 15th when he saved his 20th game of the year against the Angels. High fly ball off the bat of B.J. Upton. Span going back onto the warning track is going to have room. B.J. squared that one up nicely. He's hit the ball hard 3 times, but he's 0 for 5. B.J.'s led his 5-game hit streak.
He's had a tough night. He got a strikeout calling a ball up and in. That was a ball, 3-2 count, and has hit the ball well. And just as you said, has nothing to show for it.
Well, is Freddie Freeman back for the Braves? 2 more hits for Freeman tonight. And a strike, 0-1. Not only 2 hits for Freddie, but 2 runs. All 3 runs driven home by Chris Johnson. With his 2 runs scored, Freeman adds to his team leading total of 46 runs scored in 72 games.
I really like his swing, short and compact, straight to the baseball. Hits the ball to all fields. Doesn't just hit it to all fields, but hits with power. He can take you out to left center, to right center, to straightaway center.
Liner foul out of play. Mets still lead Miami. That's 1-0, bottom of the 9th inning. The Phillies are beating the Cardinals 2-0. That game's in the 6th. Keep an eye on the Phillies. After they swept Atlanta, the Phillies are within 5 games of the division lead. If this score holds and that score in St. Louis holds, the Phillies would be 4 games back. Amazingly enough.
No one's out of it in this NL East.
It's amazing. In the air, deep left field. Zimmerman got a bad jump. That ball is going to be off the base of the fence. And he drops the ball, and Freeman stands at second with a 2-out double.
I agree with you, Chip. He got a bad jump on that ball. I don't know if it would have made any difference because Freddie Freeman hit it so well. But as we talked about, one of the reasons that makes Freddie so good is power to all fields. That's a ball that's down and in, breaking ball that he could have pulled. Instead, he inside outs it, which is usually a base hit for everyone else. For Freddie, it's a double off the wall.
Well, all it takes, Paul, is to be a step, maybe a step and a half late. And any chance you have to catch a ball like that is by the boards.
I agree. Not a lot of room for error on a ball that's hit that well.
So Freddie with a 3-hit game tonight. He's in scoring position for Gaddis.
It's a breaking ball to Gaddis. I do not expect to see a fastball in at any point in the count to Evan Gaddis, who's crushed that pitch tonight. I do expect to see a lot of breaking balls, especially with 2 outs and first base open.
You pitch him away at your peril too, because we know Gaddis has opposite field power as well for the Braves. There's a breaking ball, a strike. It's 0-2.
It's one of those. Gaddis is an intelligent player, catcher, so he knows what's coming, and it's one of those where you can look for that breaking ball and try to work it up the middle or the other way and get that big 2-out RBI.
Pop fly foul back into the stands. 0-2. Good crowd tonight. 32,193 the official attendance. We figure to have a big crowd again tomorrow night for Mike Minor and Steven Strasburg. Game 2 of 4. First pitch 7:05. Braves live at 6:30 Eastern Time.
As you see a fastball right there, it's a wasted pitch. It's out of the zone to make that 1-2. I expect Stammen to go back to the slider. So if I'm Gaddis, that's what I'm sitting. If you throw for a fastball strike, great for you.
Taken low. Good eye. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Slider just missing down. Very nice job of Evan Gaddis laying off that pitch. Craig Stammen with good stuff. And I like how Stammen, when he rotates, he crunches a little bit. Gets really nice action as he comes set, and then through his windup, if you watch, he gets really good twist. And as I said that, he threw a slide step, right? Come on, Craig. You got to back me up here, buddy.
How about the job by Gaddis? Got to 2 strikes. He's fought off a couple of pitches here.
I think that was a very poor time to slide step because there's 2 outs. Freddie Freeman is not going to steal third base right here. He's already in scoring position, so there's no reason to get less on a pitch home.
If the Braves score a 4th run, you'll see Jaime. The pitch is over the inside corner, and Gaddis was frozen. The Braves don't score a 4th run. That means it's a 3-run game. Top of the Nationals order is coming up in the 9th inning, and it's Craig Kimbrell. He'll try to come on and save his 21st game and make a winner of Gavin Floyd in Game 1 against the Nationals. We remind you that new for this season, the Braves will host a kids baseball clinic for kids of all ages at Turner Field Monday, June 23rd from 9 to 3. Learn the game from Braves legends like Marquise Grissom, Brian Jordan, and Charlie Liebrand. To reserve your spot today, go to braves.com/kids clinic.
Some pretty good coaches right there.
And some pretty good company right there for Craig Kimbrell. Among all active pitchers, Kimbrell has the lowest major league earned run average. And he'll try to chase down a save for Gavin Floyd. Braves also make a double switch. Kimbrell into the game on the mound. Ramiro Pena has checked in defensively at second base. So Pena will bat ninth. Kimbrell will bat first. Hopefully it won't come to that as the top of the Nationals order goes to work here in the final inning.
Craig Kimbrell trying to put an exclamation point on this game. Hopefully winning game one with some authority.
Kimbrell has saves in 4 of his last 5 outings.
I love this look. Look at Spider-Man right there, Chip. He's getting down, ready to jump off a building and shoot a web.
And he missed outside. 1 ball, no strikes. As I mentioned, it's been a while for Craig. He last pitched on June 15th against the Angels, and that's the age-old question about relief pitchers. Rest versus rust. It's a delicate balance, isn't it, for a manager to keep from overworking his relief pitchers or underworking them. And obviously the 3-game sweep at the hands of the Phillies didn't allow Freddie Gonzalez a chance to utilize Craig Kimbrell.
I agree, it is a delicate balance, and part of being a good manager is knowing how to manage a bullpen. Not easy. Freddie Gonzalez does a great job of it.
We're in the ninth. 3-0 Atlanta. Denard Span the hitter. The 1-1 pitch is swung on late and out of play, foul. The Nationals have only 3 hits. Gavin Floyd was that dominant. Favaro an inning of 1-hit relief. Walden an inning of perfect relief, and now Craig Kimbrell. The Nationals have had their fill of mid-90-mile-an-hour heat in game 1 tonight.
We'll see if he goes to the slider here. Sticking with the heat. When you talk to hitters around the league, what makes Kimbrell so effective is it's not just velocity, but you can't pick up the ball. He actually pushes the ball. You'll see it stay close to his ear, and no one else in the league can throw that hard with that kind of arm action. Almost like a dart.
And now the 2-2 pitch is downstairs. You don't want to walk the leadoff man in the 9th inning, not with all the thunder coming up for the Nationals. Rendon, Worth, and LaRoche are lurking for Washington.
This is where you recognize that situation as a pitcher. You throw a fastball right down the middle and say good luck to you.
Fly ball to left. Schaefer drifts back. He's under it and has it. Denard Span flies out. There's the all-important first out of the 9th inning.
Nice job right there. Defensive replacement Schaefer, showing you why he's out there. Broke back on that.
Other than a win, there's nothing more satisfying than heading into a hostile environment like the Braves have entered in Washington and hearing the crowd as quiet as it is in the 9th inning tonight.
I agree with you. You came into their place and you made a statement. The Braves struggling as of late, losing 8 of their last 12. Coming into the team they're chasing, a game and a half out, and you made a statement. Not saying it's over, but so far the pitching has really said something tonight.
Anthony Rendon 0 for 3 tonight. That caught a corner, even count.
97 miles an hour at the knees away. Nothing Rendon can do with that. So I woke up this morning, I got stretched out, and I got my game face on, Chip, because I had a tough matchup against FP Santangelo, Nationals announcer, and so far I'm up 3-0.
He can't hit. We knew that. That missed outside. 2 balls and a strike. How close was this one for Craig?
This is that good breaking ball that he throws. I don't care what Pitch Track said. I wanted that one.
But PNC Pitch Track said it was outside. 2-1 the count. He overpowered him with a fastball.
You notice how late that swing was at 96. There's 96 miles an hour that pitchers throw that hitters just pick up on. You don't know why. I remember Matt Anderson throwing 100 to 102, and it was like a pinball machine. Balls flying all over the yard. Craig Kimbrell not only throws hard, but it's just extremely sneaky fast.
In Kimbrell's career against the Nationals, there are some eye-popping numbers. 3 wins, 1 loss, a 1.35 ERA in 34 games, 18 saves in 21 opportunities. But here's the amazing stuff. 33 2/3 innings, 62 strikeouts, and 8 walks.
Yes. And you're going to get your fair share of this. The full counts, the 3-ball counts, where he just comes back. He's a little, I want to say, effectively wild.
Yeah, that's one thing we've noticed a little more about Craig this year is at times his fastball command hasn't been what he would like. Let's see if that's a weapon for him here. As he missed high and inside to Rendon. So it's a 1-out walk. Again, going back to our theme of eliminating pitches, if Craig struggles to throw his fastball, you either take it, sit on the breaking ball, or take your bases on balls. And Rendon did a moment ago.
As you can see, Atlanta, a game and a half out of first place, and that's the good news. I know some people want to push the panic button. And because the Braves have struggled lately, this game so much is, what have you done for me lately? But the good news is, with all their injuries, their struggles, the bullpen woes, the fact that they haven't gotten timely hits like they did last year, they're only a game and a half out of first place. And hopefully after tonight, a half game, they're right in the thick of it.
This is a huge at-bat in the game. You do not want Worth to reach because that means LaRoche would bat with a potential tying run represented here in the 9th. Worth has doubled and has struck out swinging twice. Jason in a dry spell, just 3 hits at his last 24 at-bats.
Worth reminds me of Hunter Pence a little bit, who can take some unusual swings. That front shoulder can fly open, and he still has a way of barreling the baseball, getting the job done. You can't always read his swings and decide on what pitch to throw based on the way he swings the bat.
Now he's got him set up. The 1-2 is off the plate with a fastball. We had a fascinating discussion before the game about effective velocity. You don't have to air it out at 98 every time. His 95-mile-an-hour fastball is probably good enough to get most hitters.
I agree with you because of the deception.
And a breaking ball gets Worth to swing and miss. So from 98 to 86, and that's a big strikeout, the second out of the inning.
That's actually a hanging slider that didn't do anything. That was a mistake. But when you have to time 96 miles an hour that is extra quick, you get away with that hanging slider because of your stuff. Now I'm I'm a big believer in location. I was a pitcher. I wasn't a stuff guy. But scouts like stuff for reasons like you just saw right there. You can get away with more mistakes.
So now LaRoche could hit one to Bethesda, Maryland, and the Braves would still lead. That's the importance of the Worth strikeout. 0-1 the count.
I like it. Well, we'll hope for one not quite that far. But you're right. The 2-run home run doesn't let you catch up.
High fly ball slicing toward the line. Long run. Schaefer at the wall. He can't get there. It bounces off the top of the fence. And Schaefer slammed into that padded wall pretty hard.
Schaefer, we do not need another injury. Shake it off. You got to like the effort right here. As a pitcher, when you see your outfielder going at it that hard and running into a wall, you make sure you tell him thank you after the game.
So Kimbrel one measly strike away from sending the Braves to a 6-1 record against the Nationals this year. The 1-2 pitch is fouled back to the screen. Rendon was off with the pitch. The Braves happy to let him roam around the base paths.
You know, the Braves with 11 hits and only 3 runs, and the Nationals with just 3 hits so far, they've really outplayed them in every area. The score could be a little bigger. But like we were talking about earlier, you like to see everything working together on this Braves team.
Did he go? He did go, and Kimbrel nails down victory number 2 for Gavin Floyd. Atlanta shuts out the Nationals on only 3 hits tonight.